Welcome to the Deal Champs podcast. We got another great guest for you guys. We're back. We've been slammed on Tuesdays planning for the Deal Champs Summit. If you don't have your tickets, Dino, throw up the thingy,
The thingy.
the banner. The people need to see the banner where they can get their tickets. Guys, we're having the biggest real estate event of the year, the Deal Champs Summit, second annual.
The second one.
You don't want to miss it. It's going to be awesome. We got Pace Morby headlining. We got all sorts of speakers flying in from across the country. It's going to be amazing. We throw the best real estate event in the state of California, hands down. You don't want to miss it. Can't wait to see you guys there. Dealchamps.com/summit. Real quick, we'll do some quick little intros. My name's Stratt Brown. I've scaled two different companies to seven figures. We have a real estate portfolio. We primarily wholesale and buy, sell storage. And I got started in real estate because I had absolutely zero life skills after playing college football, making no money in the NFL, unlike Dean. Dean was slightly better than me. And so I had to find a way to make some money, and real estate was what I thought I could do to make six figures a year, and I did a little bit better than that. We have the master of hair, Mr. Jason Pritchard.
What's up, guys? It's Jason Pritchard. Hair is out today. Got all dressed up for the pod. I'm your other co-host. Quick backstory on me. Worked in corporate America for 15 years. Hated my job, was unhappy with my life. We burned all the boats in 2014, went full-time into real estate, have not looked back since. In that time, we've done 500 deals, mainly fix and flip and wholesale. We own a rental portfolio just north of $17 million. And like we always say on this podcast, we want to transfer as many of our real-world learning experiences to you guys that are listening so you can shortcut, fast-track all the mistakes that we've made and get to where you want to go faster. So this should be a good pod. Systems and KPIs is things that we're definitely focused on right now. It's the thing that lots of people, they take for granted because it's just all hustle at the beginning, and they will plateau very quickly without the right systems and processes. So I'm excited to hear what Chandler's got to say.
Hell yeah. And then we have Mr. Captain America. I saw his website the other day. It was him standing there with a dog. I was like, bro, it doesn't get more Captain America than this. Home Helpers Group is the most American home buying company I've ever seen in my life. I've got to give you branding props. If you guys want to see what a hometown American website looks like for a home buying company, go to homehelpersgroup.com.
Homehelpers.com. Oh, look it up.
Thanks for the shout out. What's up, guys? Dean Rogers, your other co-host here. Excited for today. Started my career in the NFL, then transitioned to corporate, then got into real estate. Been doing that for over a decade now in Central California. We've done over 700 plus deals, have an 8-figure rental portfolio, and coaching students how to get started in wholesaling. And you guys can always connect with me at deanrogers.com.
And we got Mr. Chandler Saine, the KPI master. Give us a quick intro, bro.
Dude, you guys have great intros, by the way. I'm gonna give you guys good props on that. So, maybe mine will live up to standards. But yeah, my name's Chandler Saine. I've grown two of my own companies to multiple seven figures, and have helped 35 other of my clients hit their first 6-figure month. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
And yeah, I help people grow their already existing wholesale company to do more deals through systems, people, processes, that kind of stuff. So, do it simply, do it profitably is my 2 cents.
Let's talk about the profitably thing. That's the title. How do you scale while staying profitable? Because when I've done it multiple times, it eats so much cash. Like, everybody wants to have a big growing business, but they don't realize the amount of cash that it sucks out of your bank account.
Yeah. That's definitely a real thing. Two things. So I think, well, it might be more than two. I'd say two is an arbitrary number. But the first thing is one, the belief that I have right now is you need a really high ROI marketing channel that's very efficient. So low lead to contract ratio, which is somewhere like 15 to 25. And high ROI to me is anything over 5X is the minimum. I'm really shooting for 7. The reason I say that is like my standard is because if you look at any of the biggest companies in the world, and so like when we were going through the Stratt, and like, how things were in 2022, you guys all probably were there. Like, our overhead was 180K a month. We were doing 300 plus K a month consistently. And like, then we started losing 50, 40, 70K a month. It's like, what the heck is going on? And the thing I realized when I started studying, I was like, man, like our ROI is like a 3 to a 4X. And what that did for us is it made it to where if we had a down month in sales, well, we would be negative in our profit margins or break even, like if we were lucky. So we had to have a good month to be profitable. And that wasn't really the business that I wanted to run personally. And so I started looking at like all the biggest businesses in the world. So I started like with like Apple and like, Arrow Electronics, some of these like bigger companies. And the things I realized is the revenue per employee were like $1 million revenue per employee, extremely efficient. And then I didn't know their ROI on marketing. I have no idea, but it had to be huge. So then I went to like a tier down where I was looking at my friends who were doing like 20 million a year. And I was like, dude, they're like cost per acquisition to like lifetime value of their customers, like a 30 to 40x. So I'm like, dude, ours is like 4. I'm like, we have a major problem here and it's going to be really hard to like actually grow. And I asked one of my friends who has a wholesale company in Southern California, you guys probably know him, but I think they did like 25 million last year and mostly wholesale and flip, but they're like a 12x ROI. And the number one thing they said to go from 1 million to 10 million was to boost ROI. So you have profit to install management. So I think like that's really the biggest thing that you can do is to grow ROI to a point where it gets large enough to where if you're by yourself or have maybe a couple people on your team, you can afford a little bit of inefficiency to where you're not actually going to lose money, as much money, or break even in worst case scenario instead of like losing a ton of cash flow in the business. So I'd say that's like the biggest metric that I'd look at. If your ROI is less than 5x, then like you don't need to scale, in my opinion. That's my philosophy. You need to become more efficient, increase your deal size, increase your conversions, so you can boost your return on investment and remove wasted marketing. So that'd be the first place I'd start. And then the other place I'd start is profit margin. If your profit margin, like it's different for every tier of business. If you have like, if it's just you and maybe a VA, your profit margin should be above 70%, 65% minimum. If you're not there, you shouldn't scale. You need to become better and more efficient in your business. If you have maybe an acquisition manager and like a couple support players, maybe like 2 or 3 or 4 people, like you should be above 55%, maybe 60%, depending on like how much you're paying your act guy, but definitely not below 50 before you like start to adding more things. And like, that's like, I think the core piece is like, there's never a way to scale profitably, because when you scale, you're going to have more waste. But the piece of it is you need to have high margin for error. So when you do grow, you don't go into the red. Or if you do go into the red, you don't dip as deep into the red.
Chandler, I heard you say, we want to start with those higher ROI returns that you're going to get from the marketing channels, right? I know this is going to vary a lot based on the market that you're in and all of that stuff and your budget, obviously, right? But if you are talking about like the profile of the majority of the people that are listening to this show right now, they're newer, right, into the business. It's maybe them. They have a small team. They're consistently putting out 30, 40, 50 grand a month in revenue, and they're trying to figure out what to go into. What are those marketing channels that you're seeing that are working right now? What would you recommend? And outside of that, I know the other lever that you can pull is systems oriented and skill set, right? You know what I mean? We can give them the best list, the best marketing channel, right? But what are the things that they can do that help them convert more opportunities once the leads are actually coming in? Because that's going to have an impact on their return too.
Yeah. So just to recap, what marketing is working right now and systems, like if you had, let's just say one system, you had to make sure you convert. So the marketing that's working right now that I'm seeing is going to be digital. Digital is what's allowing us to get the most outsized returns, because we can get contracts for $1,000 to $3,000, depending on marketing, depending on sales process and skill. There's a bunch of different factors that lead into this. But I have a client who's running his own Facebook ads in-house. He's making new creatives, doing all this kind of work. He's getting contracts for like $900. Like he's spending $3,000 a month. He's getting 3 contracts a month, and his deal size is like 30K. Like that's a phenomenal return on investment. But he's putting the work in. He learned the skill of how to run Facebook ads. And he's able to get leads for $50. He's closing 1 in 15. Pretty good. Or maybe it's a little bit less, right? Numbers ebb and flow every week, every month. But the point is digital. We're using YouTube as one of our top performing channels right now. I ran the math on our first 32K that we spent. We closed 140K, and we have another 220 that's projected, that's out there. Odds are it probably won't all close. If half of it closes, we're still at like a 7 or 8x. So super good ROI for us on those 2 channels. That's what I'm seeing is like working right now is digital. And the thing is, like, if you're young and just getting into this, like digital is like something we understand, and you should double down on it and learn that skill, because in wholesaling, it's a marketing and sales game, and outsourcing all of your marketing to someone else just to hope that it works is I don't think the best option. It works, but if you really want to like have efficiencies and like carve out a high ROI channel, which is like what I believe in, is you need to start to establish some credibility. So like, for example, the guy who's getting contracts for like around a grand on Facebook, the thing he's doing is he's like going to properties he's doing deals with, going on appointments. He's like filming ads in front of these like local houses. So he's like the local authority, the local home buyer, like making good writing good copy, filming a good ad. And then people are like, oh, I want to talk to Fidel. Like he's like the local guy. He's like the local expert. If you have any testimonials, any social proof, it immediately puts you head and shoulders above anyone else who's running some tired picture ad that's been run a million times and going through some random copy and paste funnel that a marketing agency puts up for you, which is fine. It works for a reason, but you need to put your own spin to it. So that's my piece on marketing. As far as if you had one process, this is a marketing and sales business. So the thing you have to have is you have to have a sales process. Like if you don't have a repeatable script where you say the same song and dance every single time to the seller, then, you know, it's like Hermosi said it, I think best. He's like, you've done this dance 1,000 times and the person you're going against has done it for the first time. Like who should win? Like obviously you should, right? We all know that, but people, you know, and myself included, is like, if I hop on a sales call with someone, it's like, sometimes I don't follow the script. I just wing it. And then I kick myself sometimes. I'm like, man, I should have had a process for that. But as soon as you install a process, like there's a client I was working with, he was doing like 50K a month and like not bad. And I asked him, I said, what's your close rate? He's like 30%. We ran the numbers, did all this. His close rate was 10%. He's like, dude, that's crazy. I'm like really good at sales. He's doing all his own sales calls. We put a sales process in place. His close rate went to 30%. He tripled his business, like legit tripled his business in like 60 days, just from installing that, having some discipline around what he was doing. It was not very complicated. So if I had one process, that would be the one that I would focus on more than anything else and invest as much time and energy into. And then I would also figure out how to run digital ads, in my opinion.
Great answer.
Did you have your question, Dino?
Yeah. So I think you already answered it, but when it comes to these marketing strategies, whether you outsource it or do it in-house, it sounds like you prefer to do it in-house to learn the ins and outs of how to actually set up the ads and do all that. So can you walk me through, like when you're consulting for people, do you actually teach them how to do it yourself, or do you have like certain people you refer them to that teach how to do it? Like what's your process behind that?
Yeah, this is actually something that I went to an event, like it was 3 weeks ago. And I was, it was like a bunch of guys, there was 15 of us. Everyone in the room was doing like between like 5 and 15 million in this type of business. And everyone was doubling and tripling down on brand. So this is all like kind of like a new thing for me. Like, my belief fully shifted from like, oh, it's all about sales to holy shit, wholesaling is like 90%. The 90% of the sale right now is done on the sales call and wholesaling. Whereas like, in like, I have a coaching company as well. In my coaching company, 80% of the sales done by marketing. People hop on the sales call and they're like, yo, how do I pay you? And like, that's the whole thing. So I'm like, if we could just like meet in the middle somewhere, like if you look at roofing, it's a great example. That's what I've been studying a lot, is in roofing, they get a lot of referrals. You have like all this complex marketing things and how people are doing like a ton of business in roofing. But it's like a lot of the sale is done, like the frame shifts because of marketing from, prove to me like why I trust, like I'm a seller hopping on a call. Right now, the frame is, let me hop on a call and you have to prove to me like why I should work with you. I have so many people to work with, blah, blah, blah. What we can, if we can figure out, and I think we can do this through a couple, like just using like a VSL funnel, and I can talk about this in a little bit, and some of the marketing strategies that I'm going to implement in our portfolio. But is if we can just shift the frame where the seller comes on the call and they're like, I trust you and I want to work with you, and we just need to agree on price. If we can get the frame to that, then our close rate will probably double and our deal size will go up. So that's what I'm trying to do. And the way that I'm working that through my head is, one, in the marketing itself, it's just being more like just putting more effort into the ads, right? It's just very simple. It's like make it video ads, make the copy really good, put it in front of houses that people resonate with, and then like solve their problems in the ads. Keep the messaging congruent to a landing page that has messaging that resonates with the ad, right? tenants wrecked your house, blah, blah, blah. If you inherit a property, whatever it is, right? And then you have a video sales letter. It's like, 5 to 7 minutes long, depending on, well, that'll take some testing to figure out how long it should be. But it just explains the process, how credible we are, how many people we've helped, Google reviews, video testimonials, all that kind of stuff. And so they watch that and they book a call, and then they're like, whoa, that's pretty good. It's like they're prepped a little bit more. So that's one thing that we're going to do. That's what the guy who's getting contracts for $1,000 that we're about to we're getting geared up to test all this stuff in our own company. The other piece of this, so I was just on the phone today at noon talking with one of my friends who has a company that's in 4 markets, SoCal, Vegas, Texas, and Florida, and they only do SEO. And the thing they do is they just do the Google My Business top 3 rankings, and they don't pay for any marketing. They're doing $2 million a year. They only do SEO. And so we were talking about just like how to iterate brand and SEO and all this stuff together. And so the thing is like right now for Level Up, the way that I get clients, Level Up's my company that we consult people from, people who are doing deals currently, established wholesalers and flippers, is the whole ecosystem is I make a YouTube video that explains like my strategy, my process, how we work, this whole thing, how we scale businesses, our thesis. And then I just send traffic to that video, and then people book a call to work with me. That's how it works. They get nurtured through my YouTube, through my content, and they book a call, and then they work with us, and then we help them out. So I think we could do something similar where we make a YouTube video for someone. Hey, did your tenant wreck your property recently? Here's your options. Something like that. YouTube video, people are going to watch it. There's no competition on YouTube at all for this right now, but I do know YouTube works, and that there are sellers on YouTube because we're generating leads through YouTube via paid ads. So I know that the audience is there, and no one's just making videos for that group of people. So my belief is that if we make videos for those people, then they'll binge watch the series. Then they'll be like, there's no one else I'm going to work with other than Chandler, because who else is giving me all the options? But I don't want to spend $20,000 repairing my property. I'm just going to call Chandler. They're going to be able to help me out. I know they can do it. They're trusted, blah, 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 blah. There's no competition in that. And what I can do is then when those videos are there and I know they can perform and convert, then I'll just pay and run an ad. This is like what I do now is I'll run an ad that I can get a lead, get someone to watch that video for like around $5. I get them to watch the video. Then I could just do the same thing for sellers. I could just run an ad, get them, because it's a very low barrier to entry. It's like, hey, go watch this thing if this thing happened to you. Boom, people are like, oh, I'm curious about that. It's like a free lead magnet style. And so I can get really cheap. I think I can get really cheap qualified inbound, like organic type leads that way with like almost no effort at all. So this is all theory. This is all like brand new, but this is like where I'm moving everything towards. Because I think this is where everything's going to head towards, because it's a very fragmented industry right now.
Dean has built the best brand here by far, I would say. Like Dean has like 500 something Google reviews. And then I think Ryan Dossey's done really good. Ryan Dossey was like on the brand side of this, like back in 2019, where he branded everything with like Christopher Ellen Holmes and everything like that. Oh no, did my internet go out? We good?
No, we can hear you.
No, you're good.
I think branding is super important, and everything you touched on struck a chord with me, because I believe in that wholeheartedly too. I think you can have a very successful business without the branding part, but I think the branding enriches all of what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And so I've believed in that since day one. Now, to nerd out with you there for a bit, as mm-hmm. you think about how you're putting together this targeted marketing, are you looking to, instead of just creating one ad creative where it's like, hey, look, I can buy your house, I'll pay cash for it, blah, 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 which is good and will work. Are you looking to go one layer deeper and have many ads that are targeting specific problems that the typical sellers have? Yeah,
that's like, I have this sheet I could share with you, Dean, like after this, but I like wrote out like some of my first thoughts, like what videos I'd make and like what basically angles. So like for me, I see an angle as like the avatar. And yes, do you know Cole Gordon? Are you familiar with who that is? Okay, yep. So his whole strategy, right, for context for everyone who's watching this, does like 3-4 million a month in his like main core business. He's insanely talented, super fucking smart guy. His whole strategy is like, I will place you as a performing appointment setter in your business 7 days or less. That's his whole entire offer. And what he does is he's like his main person he serves is like coaches, agencies, and consultants. That's like who he normally serves. But then he realized that like, oh, I get all these other people who come in for my same funnel. And then he just made like a different funnel, basically a different like angle for like stem cell companies, or
different segment
stem spas, or like different ones. So to answer your question, like that would be the strategy. I think it would start with the biggest one overall, so just like a cash offer type of deal, and like it would encompass everyone. And then wherever we probably had the most success is where I double down first. So like let's say everyone was a owner occupied who just wanted to cash out because they were tired, like they got sick or whatever. I don't know, whatever the avatar is. We all know there's tired land, the different ones. I would just go after that one first, make a funnel specifically for that one. Then I take the next biggest one, do the same thing, and then I would run down the line that way. Would be how I would approach it.
And you think video creative is better of like the actual person as opposed to a more like polished or like just pictures of, a couple or some traditional type of marketing pieces?
I think it needs to have like the local, not too serious feel, like not corporate, especially for like sellers. The best ads we have for YouTube are just like this 45, 50-year-old lady who just sits there in her car and just talking to the camera. That's like the best performing avatar and creative we have for the YouTube side. But, I think the thing for video versus like a picture is, in a video, what I've found is you can get a lot more context relayed, and people will like tend to like explore a lot more. Whereas like in a picture, it's like a lot lower intent. I don't think either one's inherently bad. I think that you want a mix of them, because the thing that's nice about pictures is you get 100% click-through rate. So everyone sees the entire picture. So you can get more leads, but a lot of times they're lower intent. But that's also not a bad thing if you're trying to push them to a video that's going to convert them. You know what I mean? So it's like, it depends on your strategy. I think if you're going like direct, watch this video, and I don't know how this is a feel thing based on like what we do and what I see with like our YouTube company, is if we run a video direct to a booking page, to a thank you page with like a here's our process, like how it works kind of thing, then videos tend to work better because the intent is a lot higher. But from my experience running a bunch of Facebook ads for my coaching company, it's tough to say exactly, because there's value in like getting the opt-in, because you have the email, you have the phone number, and then now they go and watch your video. And I don't have the exact answer. I do know in our last campaign that we ran doing the strategy, we're getting like $200 qualified book calls, which is like pretty cheap for like a qualified, like someone who's doing like, 30, 50K a month. That's pretty affordable.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would work. But that was all pictures, by the way. It wasn't any videos. So we're testing some videos now. So I'll know for the campaign. But I think it kind of depends. I think if you're doing a direct call funnel, the video is going to outperform.
What's your guys' email sequence like when a lead comes in? Now you're going to implement like an immediate video of like an intro video. I remember way back, people were talking about like the customer experience when a new sales rep was going to go on an appointment. So let's say Scott on Jason's team was going to go out there. They would get like a video of Scott introducing himself in an email. So that way, when he showed up, it was just like seamless. Like, hey, yeah, I've seen the video. Great to finally meet you, blah, blah, blah. Like, do you guys implement something like that, or what does that look like in an email sequence?
Yeah, I really like that. I haven't gotten that deep on the email sequence for what this is going to look like. We're just trying to roll out the concept first, test it out. Some of my clients were testing out first. Yeah, it's the perks of kind of having guinea pigs, right? That want to go and do this, take this journey down with us. But for me right now, when we get an inbound lead that comes in, we send them an initial text right away that says like, hey John, this is insert, owner name of the company. This is Chandler with level up. Thanks for submitting your info about 123 Main Street. We'll get you an offer for that in just a couple of minutes. Expect a call from us shortly. And then they'll be like, oh, sure. And then that like increases the answer rate. And then they'll know like, oh, maybe Chandler for some phones. Sometimes it doesn't work like that. But That's what we'll do. And then we'll call them in 3 minutes or less. That's our process. And then if they don't answer, they'll go into we call it like a working sequence. And so the first 7 days, they'll get 2 texts from us the first day when they don't answer. So they get that, 3 texts. They get that welcome text. They get the missed call text, like, hey, like just Chandler giving you a phone call about your property at 123 Main Street. Let me know. We just need a couple more pieces of information before we get you that offer. And then we'll send a message that gets a pretty high reply rate. And we'll say something along the lines, hey, just bump in this last message in case you got busy. And it will like put the little up arrows, and we'll send that an hour after the first text. And then they'll get a text every day for 7 days. And then they get 2 double dials a day for 7 days. That's our process right now for that.
Damn, 2 double dials. What else do I have here? What's the cash conversion cycle you're aiming for in order to like, hey, this is the best and it's like realistic? Because obviously we can't have a fucking 3-day cash conversion cycle like a service business. But like, what is ideal, and how do you get that down as low as possible?
Yeah. So I think that if you want to get it as low as possible, like you could probably be within like 45 days. Like it would be a tight cash conversion cycle. Inbound leads like 14 days to a contract, and then like you might be able to close your deals faster than 30 days if you're really tight on dispo, so 30 to 45 days. For me, like it depends on like your stage in business. I'm a really big fan of so I have like 3 phases of like how people should grow their companies. And the first phase is like the solo plus like a follow-up specialist and like an EA, right? You're doing like, $20 to $30,000, $40,000 a month. You're just kind of getting ramped up, right? You're trying to figure out the business. And then the next stage is like a middle model. We call it like the strategic scale model. And basically this one's like where you start to hire your first acquisitions guy and you pull yourself out of acquisitions. One, that's like the most important thing to be able to grow, is to get that position like built, like hired, and then be reliable. Like you need to rely on this person full time. Like that's the most important thing. And I can talk about that later. But once you nail that piece down, your job to go and pull yourself out of the day-to-day is to perfect the business model, in my opinion. And this is what we did. So it's like a lot of people's deal size is like $15,000, $10,000. And it's really hard to grow a company on a $15,000 deal size. So like when you get to that point, and maybe you can do it a little bit before, but it's like your job is to, as the business owner, in my opinion, is to figure out how do I monetize deals in more ways. So every deal we look at, we have a decision tree where we go, what's the target profit if we flipped it? What about if we did a wholesale? What if we did innovation? What if we wholesaled it? And then we can apply like a time frame of like how long is this going to take to get the money, and like which one is the best one for us to do based on the business and where it's at. And not every deal, but a lot of times, like if it's a $20,000 wholesale, or maybe I'll make 50 or 60 if I take it down and put a little work into it. Well, it's like way worth it to put the work into it and get the deal and take it down. So your job is like to build the business model, build the connections, private money, the know-how, partner with flippers, whatever it is to get that done. So I look at the cash conversion cycle, but like people say it's the most important number in the business. And I think it is, because you should model out like your revenue and your profit, and you should be doing that every month. But I think it's more of like a cash flow management problem. And it depends on like, where's your cash flow in your business and like, what do you need? Because I'll say I'll lose 20 grand this month to make like 100 next. If that means just saying no to a deal today, you know what I mean? So it's like, I think it's for me, in my opinion, it's like, it depends. It's a very dependent answer.
I like it, bro. So best lead source you said was YouTube. Let's go on to like how to build a team and talking about that. I'm a big fan of hiring 2 sales reps at a time.
Okay.
Because I feel like there should be a little bit of competition. I know it makes it a little bit hard at the beginning, but what are your thoughts on that?
Dude, I was actually just before this was on a call with like our community talking about this, and I got asked the same exact question. So I have practice. Dude, Devin, the GOAT, bro. I missed you, dude. Come out. I got to come out to old North Carolina and see you. What's up?
Devin's coming to the Deal Champ Summit. I was messaging him earlier today.
Dude, go be there. When is it? I want to come.
April 4th and 5th. Come be our VIP guest. I got you.
Bro, I'm doing an event April 17th and 18th, dog.
Bro, putting on an event is not hard. You can leave for a week. You'll be fine. Here's
the thing, dude. I love to ski. And April is spring skiing season. And like, I'm not going to lie, bro. I'm I'm a dog for the taking the days off to ski out here. So anyways, But so my rule is like during the spring, I don't travel because I got to ski. We go do backcountry skiing, all this kind of stuff. I know it sounds funny, but anyways, hiring 2 sales rep at a time or just picking one. My opinion is I've never had it work for me hiring multiple people at a time. And I think some of it's our strategy, but what it caused me to do is to pick a worse person because I knew I was picking multiple and I was like, man, maybe one of them will work out. So what I started focusing on more was connecting with my gut and like really focusing on who I'm picking and how I'm acquiring that talent to just pick one person and make sure they work out. It's not a perfect science, but the way that I look at this, and I was talking to one of our clients yesterday about it, was for me, I'm looking for someone who, like, the only people who've worked out long term for me, and like if you have a big business where you're hiring a ton of people, this is kind of good advice, but it's not perfect. But if you're trying to hire one person a quarter, this is great, in my opinion. Is the only people who've worked out are people I know directly, like a friend of someone I know directly, so a referral, or someone who follows me on social media or on my email list. I have 30,000 people who are on my email list. So that's not fair for me to like try to give you that advice. The advice that can help is people that you know and referrals. So what I've always done is like the last time I need to hire someone who was like a high level role, kind of similar to a salesperson, but it was a coach for my business. Like, man, how do I like delegate someone to coach a company to grow to 100K a month? Like that's pretty crazy, pretty like hard task to figure out for the first try. And so what I did was I did a bunch of interviews on Indeed, Wise Hire, all that kind of stuff. Didn't work. Found a bunch of people. I was like qualified, but not for what I'm looking for. They won't work. Then I called a bunch of people who I knew, just like randomly, like trying to ask them like what they should do. Dude, like, why don't you just like ask your clients or people you know? And I was like, you're a genius. Why didn't I think about that? Because obviously it's like you don't need to be told new things. You just need to be reminded. It's my belief. And so I texted a bunch of people and said, hey, I'm looking for a coach for Level Up. You can impact a bunch of people's lives. You can be full-time or part-time. I just need 20 hours to be committed. And then I had 5 people to pick from, and I picked the top 2 best ones. And so the advice I would say that I give my clients, and we just talked about for an hour today, was how to do this, but for acquisitions managers, because the first acquisition manager you hire has to stick. If they don't, what's going to happen is they're going to quit, and it's the first like real hire you've ever made. And so what happens is they'll take you for a walk for 90 days. You'll have no pipeline. They won't do any work if it's the wrong person. If it's the wrong person. And a lot of times it is the wrong person from my experience. If it's the wrong person, they'll take you for a walk for 90 days. You have no pipeline. You have to scramble to put revenue up on the board just to break even, or to lose money or not lose as much money. And that's a terrible place to be, but I've seen it happen to like a bunch of people. So that first person has to work out. It's like the most critical thing. So you have to just hit up your network and text like 50 people and just tell them what you're looking for. Tell everyone what you're looking for. You might spend a month on the phone with people, but when you find that person that works out, you'll be able to build around them. And you want to think of this guy as like a franchise player for your sports team. Like if you have the Steph Curry on your team, then you can build around him and win a championship. But if you hire like, Iman Shumpert or something, I don't know.
Damn, hella hating right here.
Bro, I don't know, bro. That dude's just living his life somewhere.
Dude, he's just chilling, bro. But
he's so happy right now.
Maybe if you hire like Stratton to come be like your quarterback or something.
I haven't seen him throw it, but that might work out. That might check out.
No arm talent, 0 arm talent. Never played
baseball.
That
checks out.
Can't throw for
that checks out.
Yeah, bro. No, I don't know why. I don't know. I had a dog on our boy Iman.
Dang. Some seasoned NBA guy who made hella money.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm not hating on the guy, but he's not.
That's right. You're sounding like a fan. You're sounding like a fan right now.
I am.
I'm just not Steph Curry. It's okay, bro. It's okay. We're going for Hall of Famers when we hire talent. Hall of Fame talent in all spots.
That's what I'm getting after. Yes, to answer your question. So you got to hire that guy, and then you can build your team around him, and it will give you the foundation to build $1 million, $2 million company that you can pull yourself out of. If you don't get it right, it's wrong.
Chandler, I love that that first key hire is the salesperson. I actually probably stagnated my business because I stayed in that sales role for way too long, right? Because I think for me, and I know lots of new people have this worry, it's like, man, all of a sudden I got to give up a big chunk of cash. I have all the worries that you just laid out right now. Are they going to perform? Are they going to run off with my book of business? Am I just training my competition? Right. What would you say to the people that are in, and I'm looking at your model right now that want to scale from like the solo model to the strategic scale model, right? Like, why is that acquisitions person and that hire, why is that the key hire that unlocks everything else, right? And maybe talk people through some of the mind fuck that you have just getting past all of the hurdles that I think keep people like stuck in that solo piece because they're too afraid to give up the acquisitions role to somebody else because of all the risks that you just got done explaining.
Yeah. I think the first thing that we talk about, so I'll hit the risk thing real quick. The first thing we talk about, because I do a lot of mountaineering, dangerous things that you could legitimately die doing. The first thing we talk about is all the ways you could die. Like that's morbid, but it's the truth. You need to know every single way. Like when I go and ski a 10-foot wide, 2,000 foot long line that's 60 degrees steep, we talk about how we could die on the way there. And we need to be aware of our downfall and our risk. And it's extreme, but if you're aware of all the things that could go wrong, then you can plan for them. So that's number one, is you need to just be aware of what could mess up. And it's like we were talking about this the other day, because a lot of guys think the market's very uncertain right now. We could see a recession, whatever. This is at the event I was at. And it's called like the red light or red team drill, I think is what they called it. But basically it's like, how would you, if you were to destroy your business, how would you do it? So think about that. If I hired an acquisition guy, how would he destroy my business? And like use that frame, and then it'll give you a lot of different things. And then you can plan for this, right? So that's for me how I get over stuff like this, so I can actually make my step forward. Now, to why is that the most critical role in your business is because one, you're running the entire business and like you have a lot of things to do, and following up with sellers, truthfully, is going to be like low on the totem pole when it comes to closing a deal. But if you are closing a deal to try to make 30K a day or 20K or whatever, and you're on a phone all day with title, dealing with dispo problems, buyers backing out, it might be 2 days, might be 3 days, trying to get tenants out. Sometimes this stuff takes a little bit of time. Then no one's building the pipeline. And so the business is going to be up and down and up and down. Yeah. That's one reason. The other one is a lot of times, honestly, like, at least for me, it's like I burn out doing the same things over and over again. And I'm terrible at doing the same things over and over again. So I need to keep growing. And if I don't, then I'm going to stagnate and like probably not do very well. And it's just like, it gives you a lot of freedom. So yeah, that to answer your question, that's like why it's the most pivotal role. And also one other piece of this of like why acquisitions is the pivotal role and not like, let's say dispo, is because you need to know what business you're in. And we're in like the sales business from the way that this industry set up. You make money when you buy. You don't make money when you sell. You make money when you buy. So the person who's buying the homes has to be the best in the company. Bottom line. That's my belief. That's what my dad always told me. He's like, you make money when you buy, not when you sell. And I was like, nah, smart. Buy with equity. So that's why for this business in particular, that is the most important role.
Love it.
All right, bro. I had more.
You got more?
Oh, bro, you know it. Do you cold call at all anymore? I think it's dead and it doesn't work at all. I know Jason still does. I used to own a call center and I hate it because I think it creates too much operational drag of like follow up, and like lead to contract rate is really, really high. But I think if you've been doing it forever, your ROI can be really high because essentially no one else is going to stick in there and just take the licks of following up with those people for 3 years at a time. And I bet you Jason probably has one a month that converts. That's been someone who they've been talking to for years, and then they finally convert and they're ready or whatever it was.
Yeah, and it's a freaking awesome deal, probably too.
And it's a home run deal because they haven't been talking to anybody else. You happen to get them on the phone that one time, and then finally converted.
I'm in pretty good alignment with what you just said, Stratt. And I think the biggest part with cold call is that one, if you increase your budget, it takes 6 months to find out if it works or not. And then two, you just have 50 leads to a deal, and it's like a lot of work. It's not as bad as SMS, but it's still a lot of work. It does. I have clients who do cold call and do well. What I'm doing right now is anyone who I have control over, like our portfolio, like I have control over these businesses. We're not like we have we probably spend $7K to $10K a month on cold call across everything. I'm not increasing that at all unless it's foreclosures. That's the only niche that I'll spend more on it. Right now, it's like, don't increase it at all. Everything that would be increased, or can we refine it? Maybe like move marketing to inbound. That's what I'm doing. Just because it's not as superior of a marketing channel, in my opinion, as a digital inbound channel for us right now. It could change. It could go back. The contrarian move, in my opinion, is always what wins. Where, when people go here, you should kind of like try to go here, as long as it logically makes sense. But yeah.
Do all of your leads get an offer? Like, what's your guys' process on that? Are you like, hey, we qualify them pretty heavily, and then if like we know someone's just an absolute tire kicker, they aren't getting an offer? Or are you like, I think it's Eric Brewer. Eric Brewer's like, bro, everybody gets an offer. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we're not quite that extreme. I would say if someone's like willing to sell in the next 30 days and they have some kind of reason to sell outside of like, you called me, which would be a cold call response, or I don't know, I'd sell for the right price. But if they want to sell in the next 30 days and it's like, even if it's downsizing, or I just think I want to move, like we'll give those people an offer, because being able to do novations is good. And then we also started doing some like realtor referrals. So we're starting to like build a process to like, if someone's like a retail type deal, we'll refer it to a listing. That's like another way you could increase your ROI, I guess, too. But that's one of the things we're starting to build out. So
I'll add one more. Running your own creative, everybody gets an offer, the email sequence. I mean, what would you say the number one thing that someone needs to implement if they do want to go to the next level, besides hiring on a sales rep?
Where are they at right now?
Let's say it's someone who is doing like 50K a month, 30 to 50K a month.
You're doing 50K a month and you don't have a sales rep and you are hiring one. You probably tried to hire a sales rep and you probably failed at the 50K a month because you've had a lot of success. You need to raise your standard for what you allow from people. That's the biggest other thing I'd say, is if your standard is here, like one company that I was asked to be on the board of, they're doing 20, like this, the operator had done like $1.4 million in a year. He like rebuilt his team, whatever, long story short, really built his team. They were doing like 20K a month. They'd only been doing maybe like, I don't know, 4 months maybe. He's like, hey, can you like come on the board of my company, whatever, help me out? I was like, sure, like I'll do that. The only thing, and for context, we have like 100K projected in the next 30 days. In the last 30 days, we've closed 65. So, and it's only been 2 months since I've been working with them. The only thing I did, they had a fully built out team. So they had marketing, like inbound marketing. They had follow-up specialists. They had an acquisitions. They had dispo, and pay at close TC. So they had like a fully built out team. They're just trying to like basically go straight to like, we call it the freedom builder model, but basically like a fully built out team. And they're just trying to go straight to like 150, 200K a month. And that's, I think, part of the reason why they asked me to be on the board, because I've done that before. And the only thing I did was I have this continuum of leadership. So you have a 0 out of 10 performing team, like low functioning team. And you have a 10 out of 10 high functioning team. The standard they were holding was like a 4 out of 10 standard of performance. The only thing I did was come in and say, you need to make it an 8 out of 10 standard, and then showed them what that looked like. And that was the only thing I did. And then what happened was the people who weren't up to that standard quit. We had to rehire some people. And then a couple of the key people, fortunately, this is why it happened quickly, were able to stay, and actually they just needed that like leadership punch to level themselves up. And then they luckily stayed in. Like that, like our key like acquisitions guy, like needed that. Like he was a ex like football player, like state all region player type of deal. And he just needed that that leadership punch. But thankfully that he stayed. And that was pretty much it. So
that's really interesting, dude. Can you give context on what some examples of 4 out of 10 standards look like for that company? And then what is, I don't even realize they're probably operating those 4 out of 10. So,
good things for that. One, you come to, so I showed up to the weekly L10 meeting with them, with like the whole team. This is for my context of like where I'm at. And then I would, the guy who owned the company, like the main owner, I have a minority stake. The main owner is one of my good friends. I've known him for like 5 years. So the thing that there was two things. One, or the one was people would come to the meeting and have a problem, and they would just talk about the problem. We would just have it like, I'm like, but it wasn't even about the problem. It was like, we're talking about symptoms here. We're just talking about shit. I'm like, yo, like what are we fucking talking about? Like, what's the fucking problem? Like, why is this deal not closing? Like, no, that is not the reason. Like, specifically, why is this not closing? Like, tell me exactly what are the 3 things you need to do in order to close this deal? None of that was being done. It was just like, oh, the seller's doing this. Oh, like, I'm like, no, like, we've had this deal for 6 days. We haven't scheduled pictures. We don't have this thing ready for a listing. Like, what are you guys doing? Are you just sitting there like not working? Like, we get things listed in 5 days. Once we get the contract, 5 days, the property's listed for sale. 15 days from there on the MLS, it's sold. No questions. We figure it out. We do it. Obviously, if there's other situations with title, we're not going to list the property for sale. If there's other issues with, there's certain seller situations where it's like, we're not going to list it for sale because the closing date's further out, or the seller's got they need to do eviction. We're not going to have that same process. But generally speaking, it's like, there has to be like a standard of excellence that's held. And part of that's like, you have to go through it to get to it, to know what that looks like. But the other part of it's like, what were you doing on your own? Because scale is just other people doing what you did on your own, just as good as you did it. So if you were selling properties in 5 days on market to your cash buyers for a $30,000 fee, then you need your team to do the same thing. And then that's when you have reached the same level of excellence that you did. So it's not super complicated. It's just like the same thing you would do on your own, but just expect that of other people. Because that's why you got to 50K a month anyways, because you're talented.
Yeah. I love it, bro. Do you have any parting words for the people?
Bro, parting words is make sure you guys go to the Deal Champ Summit.
There we go.
That's going to be fun. I won't wait. Where is it at? Just so I know.
Fresno. Bro, it's like a flight. You can catch a direct. Come to the VIP party. The VIP part. We got fire dancers this year. I'm super excited about the fire dancers.
Yeah.
Okay, text me offline. I might pull up. That sounds pretty enticing.
All right, I got you, bro.
Yeah, direct from Denver. Easy flight from Denver. Straight shot in and out, dude. Yeah.
Bro, straight shot in and out. Come in on Saturday. We have a bunch of people. Devin's flying into from North Carolina. He's got 4 kids under 7, bro. If he can make it, your ass can make it.
You're right, bro. I just got a little dog over here. Say hi, Amina. He's just chilling. Nah, dude. My final parting words. I mean, if you are doing deals, I mean, follow me on YouTube. Hit me up on Instagram. It's just my name. I have Chandler Saine at Gmail because not many people have my name. I think there's only one other person that I've ever found on Instagram that has my name. So hit me up there. But yeah, man, I think like if you can, all the things we talked about are honestly really great fundamentals. So if you just like do what you're doing right now and do it better, like follow more, better, new framework. Like if you're picking a marketing channel, don't do 5, just do the 1 or 2 you're doing and do them more of them, then do them better when it stops working. Then when you do better and that stops working, do more because it probably started working again and your ROI boosted, and then just repeat that process until it doesn't work. And then you can do something new. People overcomplicate things. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid is what we always say. And yeah,
I love it, bro.
The grind. Not easy.
Thank you so much for coming on, Brody.
I appreciate it.
Don't forget to get your tickets at dealchamps.com/summit, the 2nd annual at Table Mountain Casino. We'd love to see you guys there. This year is going to be even bigger than last year. We got some of the best speakers in the country, and the networking is going to be insane for you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace.